I'm sorry. Hello, this is Carl Reneman with Michael. Um, if one mission, one purpose. Let's welcome Michael. Hi, Michael. How are you?
I'm doing well, Carl. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for asking. So, tell me some things about you, and then uh, let's get into your story of uh, you do.
Okay.
Okay.
So, um, so I'm 68 years old, so there's a lot to tell. Okay. Uh, but I'll try to keep it short and, relevant to your listening audience. I'm originally from Ohio. I'm a first generation American on my mother's side. She was German, and my father was born and raised in Ohio. And they met after the war, 1953, in Germany. He was in the army, and I was the first result of that marriage. I'm the oldest of three, and I am retired from the steel industry. I worked for a company that started out as Cyclops, Universal Cyclops, and was merged with Armco, then merged with AK Steel, and today is called Cliffs, Cleveland Cliffs. But I retired in 2003 and moved to San Diego. So while I was at that steel mill back in Ohio for 30 years, I went to school part time and I earned my associate's degree, then my bachelor's degree, and then my master's degree, and then retired and thought, okay, I've had enough of these winters, and moved to San Diego, where my son was stationed in the Marines. And out here, I was a plant manager for a steel company for a little while, and I've been working mostly in education as a director of several campuses and such, college campuses. And now I'm kind of semi-retired. I teach part time for a small private university out here, and I write some scripts for online master's programs for the University of Arizona. I work for a company here in San Diego that develops those classes, and I have a website called FamilyStories.Store. So retirement isn't always just sitting around reading a book and drinking a glass of wine on the balcony.
Yeah. Are you working on any projects right now, or?
I am. So I'm teaching two classes right now at the university, personal finance class, which I really enjoy teaching personal finance. And another one is multicultural management techniques.
Okay.
And for the project for the University of Arizona, I'm working with a consultant out of Israel, and he's a consultant for manufacturing mostly around Europe and the Mid East and places. And so I worked with him. Oh, it was last fall. We finished up a project on what do you call it? Constraints, the theory of constraints in manufacturing. And so right now we're working on a project about increasing productivity. So
Okay.
we're just getting that started.
Can you talk about a little bit how people can become more productive?
Oh,
And like, and I realize that's a huge topic to grasp, but um, I guess you just said that you um teach in financial, financial literacy, and then also um
mm-hmm.
being productive. So is it possible you can talk a little bit about that and try to combine those two?
Okay. So yes, financial literacy is all about being productive and being diligent about managing your money and where you're spending your finances, your cash and such,
Mhm.
and keeping track of everything. So it's just like a business. Your household finance is just like a business. You have to track things. So in a business, they track material flow through the manufacturing process. And sometimes you have a process like right here. So in the steel mill, you would have the reduction mills, which really finishes up their projects quickly. And then it goes to the annealing lines. And the annealing lines take a long time to process a coil of steel. So that's what's considered a bottleneck. And you have to become more efficient with your scheduling to make sure that the annealing lines aren't overwhelmed with product so they can keep
Okay.
up.
I
And not much different than the household, you know, managing your funds, making sure the house is clean, you have food in the house, you know, just running a household isn't much different than a business, and that's one of the
exactly.
things I try to convince my students of.
No, it's funny. There's an expert by the name of Dave Ramsey.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, I know Dave talks about a lot about using cash and not so much like on credit cards. Because I feel that we Americans have gotten into the tendency of thinking debt is okay. And a lot of times we'll go to the market and we'll be like, here, let me swipe out my credit card, and I mean, that racks up a lot of debt. Um, and I guess that's why we're in a negative, the United States is such a negative because we have gotten to that mindset. Uh,
Yes, it's true. It is so easy to pull out one of these pieces of plastic when you're at a store.
yeah,
And one of the things that I teach my students is that when you use cash for your everyday purchases, it's so much easier to see how quickly your money is disappearing. Because, like, when I get paid, I usually take out, say, $50 to last me 2 weeks. So that's my fun money when I'm out on the job. I'll go to a vending machine or go to the trolley stop and get a soda for lunch or something.
yeah,
And close to the end of that 2 weeks, you're opening that wallet and there's less and less money in there. And then you start thinking, do I really need that soda today? You
yeah.
know?
Yeah, I've actually. I mean, I'll be the first to say that I have a, I have what they call impulse buying. If that makes
Uh,
sense, I see something and I'm like, hey, I gotta have that, or no, I mean, I also work at a fitness gym, and we
oh,
have a vending machine, and a lot of times I just don't want to take a lunch. I mean, I'll probably buy one of these.
yeah.
Um, and just it's for me, it's really hard because I also see things online that I want to get as well, like
Hmm.
not just from Amazon, but just like these other like certain kind of businesses, if that makes sense.
It does.
And a lot of times they will take my money, and it's not that I think it is.
Uh huh.
Um,
You're
and
right. You're right. One of the things I was sharing with my students just last night was, when you go into a store and people go to stores just to browse and shop around, right? And
yeah,
they don't go to stores when they need something. They just go to stores to kill time and browse around and see what's for sale.
mhm,
And I told them the next time you pick up a top or a skirt or a pair of pants off of a rack, and you're looking at this and thinking, wow, this looks really nice. I love the style, I like the design. Take a look at the price tag and then think, how many hours do I have to work to pay for this? You know?
exactly. Because I mean, you have to think of like you were saying earlier, you have to think of yourself as a business, and the business you're running is you Inc. I
That's
mean, if you can't control your finances, and if you can't control your business, like you Inc., then you are gonna go bankrupt. There's a story in the Bible about three servants, um, and they're both given talents, and the master goes away, and they, like, one servant hides his talent,
Okay.
the other servant kind of multiplies it just a little bit, and the other one, master, multiplies it by a lot, and the master comes, and sees him after he gets back, and he asks, "What have you done with the money?" And the two servants said, "We multiplied the money," but the last one didn't have much to show, and so basically, uh, the master casts the servant that didn't do anything with his money away, and he blessed the other two servants. If that makes sense.
It does. It does.
And so we have, it even talks about in the Bible that we have to multiply our money, because God's given us talents. He's given us all these things, and he's going to come back and ask, "What have you done?" And if we can't show what we've done, it's not going to look good for us.
Yes.
So,
yeah. And I think that's one of the problems in the U.S. is, like you mentioned a few moments ago, plastic has become so easy. Credit cards, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you use a credit card, you're really not aware that this is actual money being spent.
Yeah.
And so another thing I teach my students is that the difference between the wealthy and the poor is how they view money. Okay, so a poor person, they're working at a job, and they get their paycheck every 2 weeks. So let's just imagine, this is a wallet. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so every 2 weeks, money flows into that wallet, and then over the next 2 weeks, money's flowing out. Right?
Yeah.
They're buying food, they're paying rent, they're paying utilities, they're buying things they don't need, on and on and on. A
Mm-hmm.
wealthy person, money flows into this wallet, and they look at that and say, "How can I use that money to make more money?" And one of the first videos I show my students in finance class is a guy named Mr. Earl from New Jersey. And he's the same age as I am. And so he started working in 1969 when minimum wage was $1.65 an hour, right? And today he has $500,000 invested and a home paid for and no debt. And he's
Wow.
never, ever made more than $20,000 a year in his whole life, his whole working career.
That's awesome. So he's taking the money and he's actually investing it and putting it into good use.
Yes. Figuring out how to use that money to make more money.
That is awesome. That
Yeah.
is awesome. Well, we know you're busy, but is there a message that you want to share with the audience?
Oh, okay. So, pick up a book or get on the internet and study some finance stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can start out with as little as $10. It's not hard to start.
Yeah.
Mr. Earl started with just a few dollars here and there, and back in the 1960s and then into the early 70s.
Yeah.
And then as you get raises over the years, you just start putting a little bit more in and a little bit more. Um, Another thing, I've got this business on the side, and it's all about preserving family history, and so that has become my hobby in retirement. So the store is FamilyStories.Store, and it's all about a database that I created to here to take old photo albums like this,
Mm.
right?
Wow.
And digitize these photos, and not only digitize the photos, but be able to type in a story about that photo, who the people are, what they were doing, and what they did for a living and such.
Wow, that is awesome.
Yeah, so it's FamilyStories.Store. And, I was just working on an affiliate program to get other people to be able to sell the products too. That was my project for today. And then after this, I'm going to get ready for class tonight.
Awesome. Awesome. And we thank you for coming on to the show.
Yeah,
We apologize about the interruptions. Uh,
I get the same thing during class.
so, so this has been Carl Reneman with Michael. And so, Michael, if you just want to send me your links, and we can host them on YouTube and
Okay.
other streaming platforms, and we'll make that happen.
Okay. So this will be posted on YouTube. That's
Yes,
great.
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, again, thank you for coming, guys. And this is Carl and Michael signing out. Thank
Okay.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.